I know some of you would get upset with me if I don't do this right. Vanakkam, namaste, and blessings to everyone. This is Dr. Vairavi Balasubramanian, PhD, the Sky Priestess, and today we're doing Hello Neighbor 7. Now, Hello Neighbor is a program that I started whilst in the days that I was on Facebook, and I just started it as a way to speak to community, just to check in, talk about general stuff, nothing specifically to do with astrology or spirituality, but the questions that would come in would typically have something to do with it. The concept of Hello Neighbor came about really after looking at the works of Fred Rogers. And Fred Rogers' work in just establishing a sense of community, family, identity, and compassion through decades and decades and decades of work. And that's the kind of legacy that, in my own way, I would be working towards making, and as I think everyone should. So let's just say hi to who's here so far. Hello, N Black. Hello, MMA newbie. Nice to see both of you. Just recently, oh, hello, Miss Loving Life. Um, you're welcome. Just recently, I had this phenomenal interview with the Dreamwise team, and and we had a 2 hour discussion on different aspects of spirituality, astrology, but more importantly, what does it mean to be in alignment in the here and now? If you look for it, it's called, in their format, it's called the Sunday service. So if you look at on YouTube for Sunday service with the Sky Priestess, you're going to find this incredibly rich, powerful connection formed for 2 hours. And the interviewers were just like, they were like saying, this feels like an activation, like they could feel the energy moving through them. And not everyone is going to agree with everything that's said, but that's how it is. No one ever fully agrees with everything that you say. You work with what you can, and you don't work with what you don't resonate with. It's that simple. We also talk a lot about ancestral inheritances and old lineages that have been forgotten, and so on and so forth. So um, it's definitely going to be of interest to people who are looking for different or alternative answers to help understand what's going on with the world right now and with themselves and with their journey with spirit. So do check out Sunday service with the Sky Priestess. Just Google it, or just put in the YouTube search and you'll find it. And it's going to have something for everybody. So let's look at who else is here. Oh yes, Divine Relationship Alchemy. They are the hosts of the interview. I was just saying hello, fam. How are you? Hello, Ruby from Guatemala. Happy Ramadan for those of you who are celebrating and observing Ramadan. To Robin. Hello from Mount Shasta. To Donna. Hello, Karen. Um, and yeah, here we go. Who else is here? Oh, okay. Some of you from yesterday's interview. So it's really wonderful to see the patterns and the power of the energy that was generated, and how many people it actually ended up touching. Overwhelmingly positive feedback. Just one person who decided that it triggered them too much. But you know what? Given what we were saying, one piece of negative feedback is actually quite amazing. We've got hundreds and hundreds of views, and people are really just singing to it, aligning with it, and allowing it to move them back into consciousness. The most important thing I would say, really. Oh, hello. And actually, just before that, let's also tune in to see who else is here. Hello, Ashwita from Bangalore. Hello, Carlette. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Ruby. And a lot of you, some of you have actually gone over and subscribed to the Dreamwise channel, and the family there is wonderful. There's a beautiful little baby who I could hear all the time during the interview as well. They talk about all kinds of spiritual teachings and practices, but in ways that don't fit into that new age spirituality box. It's very old and it's very contemporary, and I suggest checking them out. And yeah, it's it's just a lot of really really good energy. Hello Kimmy, hello Stan, hello Universal Faith, hello Pamela, hello to everybody. Now I've been away for a little, and hello Kelly. I've been away for a little while because this energy, it's funny, right? Here I am doing all this energetic work, and I guess it's no coincidence that the universe knocks out my back and goes, you got to be on your back, and you got to stay on your back, and you got to just watch and observe and do as little as possible. So that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to heal my back, and it's much better now. I'm sitting up, you're talking to me. And though there were a couple of days where there was a lot of pain, but I have my healers as well. And so I've just been observing, watching, and really stripping back down to what's important, what's at the core, you know? And, as from most of you have met my cat, and you know that me looking at her is probably part of. I was saying this yesterday on the interview. Someone was asking me, so what do you do every day? And I just said, I look at my cat, because really that's what brings me back into that space of divine alignment and energy. And it's going to be different for everybody. For some of you, it's your kids. For some of you, it's going to be just with your loved ones, your friends. For others, it's going to be an activity or mantra. Just do what brings you back to spirit. That's it. That's all you need to do. That's all you've ever needed to do on the spiritual journey. And I know it's also raised a lot of questions, because we've also been talking about many very, very esoteric concepts, such as what's happening at the etheric level onto the planet, and what's actually happening in the depths of the core, and the consciousness that it takes to actually go back to that inner earth connection. We also talked about the Dravidic root race. I mean, for those of you who are familiar with the writings of Helena Blavatsky, I think I'm saying her name right, she very much associated that Dravidian identity with the connection of the civilization known as the Lemurians. And that's something which, even though I don't talk about it much, I've been doing this research for years. And it just seems like a time where we need to talk about this more, just because there's so many people who are talking about all these words without actually putting the work into it. They take an idea, they try to fill it with themselves, and it just turns into muck. So it's really where people who have, and like me, I know there's so many people who reach out to me who are even more, guarded with what they have experienced, because they see all of this misinformation out there, and they go, okay, is this right? Does that track? Am I feeling into this in the right way? And they come up to me, and I go, yes, 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 start sharing. So I'm doing the same thing as well. So like I said, Sunday service with the Sky Priestess, meet the Dreamwise family. It's a beautiful, heart-opening experience for anyone with the heart and the spirit to listen. So let's just see who else is here. We've got Sean Harris. Hello. Hello, Nina. Hello, Leslie. Hello, Melissa, whose cat came running up. And I mentioned my cat at the time. So hello to Melissa's cat as well. Yeah, cats. Yeah, that's what's going on here. So today I want to talk about and not less about the astrology, because really, as you know me, I have the kind of energy that I talk about stuff because I feel it, and because I've read about it, looked at it, sat with it for a very, very, very long time. Even Therios. I waited for like 4 or 5 years, I think it was 4 years, before I even shared it with all of you, because I wanted to be absolutely sure. And what's happening right now is less about astrology and more about energy. Now, astrology is a way for us to understand time, space, the movement of life itself, and organic patterns, and that's true. But at the end of the day, if you are dealing with a situation where you're dealing with non neutral forces, whether they are incarnate or disincarnate, no matter what the astrology is, you're going to find similar challenges expressed through the life cycle. So, the astrology could say this angle does this, and that planet does this, and this sign does this. That particular configuration can be interpreted and filled in so many different ways, depending on the consciousness of the person accessing that particular alignment. So, to honestly, the technical details is exactly what we should not be hung up about. At best, we can think of them as representational markers. You could call them metaphors for different spiritual chapters of energy that keep unfolding in different ways. But we have to understand that it's not so much about memorizing the chapter, it's also about understanding how everyone's view of it changes the energy of what is felt. You and me and everyone else are under the same sun, the same moon, and yet all of us have different experiences in different ways. So, really, rather than the astrology, it is that perspective of each being that makes the astrology have any relevance at all. Which is why, in some people I meet, and they're gifted in clairvoyance, gifted psychics, and they look at what I'm doing and they go, oh wow, that sounds so cool, I want to learn it too. And I just go, stop. Don't. You have a clear connection from spirit. Do not muddy the waters. Because most of the time, you see astrology as putting things into boxes and categories, which is great for intellectual understanding. And when you're trying to piece things together in ways to help yourself understand what's the larger picture, but when you get a direct download, you don't need it. It's why a couple of years ago I was writing an article on the limits of astrology, and I brought it up very, very strongly again around the time when Saturn conjuncted the galactic center. I believe that was 2016, late 2016, when I was on my pilgrimage to North America. And I really feel that same energy come back now. It's so important to remember that these are tools, these are labels, these are categories. This is not reality. Reality is what you experience. Astrology or divination of any kind is a filter to that experience. And what we are basically asked to do right now, more so than ever, is to strip away that filter. I mean, that's not to say that it doesn't have relevance or it's not useful or you shouldn't get sessions with me or other people. It is to say that it is a tool. You don't use a tool all of the time because even the best tool will become a crutch. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what system, what field, what belief system. You use it too often as a substitute to your own direct experience, and it actually becomes an impediment. So, really, it is just about coming back to ourselves. That's honestly the most important message that people can be telling you right now. And the thing is, we often distrust ourselves just because A, we are too used to projecting ourselves in the form of a virtual avatar. Technology is not neutral. Electronics are not neutral. When we try to constantly infuse our life forces into a virtual version of ourselves, that does distort our self-perception. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is that we have gotten too used to performing. We've gotten too used to performing ourselves to other people, whether it's for societal approval, whether it's so people don't think you're a crackpot, whether it's for whatever. We've gotten too used to putting ourselves out there in a certain way that we feel is going to curry favor with them. And that, too, on a spiritual journey, is entirely unnecessary. So when we actually strip away these requirements, and whatever is happening around the world right now is giving us the perfect opportunity to do that. When we strip all of that away, we begin to see what we actually are. And I honestly think that as much as I'm a Marvel fan, okay, I'm a Marvel fan. I love the Avengers. I've watched probably all their movies. I don't know how many times I've watched some of them. But in the past decade or so, we've begun to equate the development of spiritual abilities and psychic powers with self realization. And they are both not the same thing at all. Each one of us either wants to become a Thor or an Iron Man or a Black Widow or whatever equivalents there are in the spiritual universe. So we don't actually need any of that. At the heart of everything, there is a core, a very, very simple core to every spiritual path, every spiritual teaching. At the very, very end of it, it's going to ask you to dissolve everything and just come back. So why go through the entire rigmarole? In the Hindu tradition, they understood this as the acquisition of what was known as siddhis. And so these would be psychic feats of the mind that would dazzle people who had no knowledge of it and no understanding of it. But truthfully, unless you have a real use or a real need to develop these abilities, they become yet another, ornament of the ego. So unless you have a reason to, stop looking for some kind of validation or externalization of whatever your essence is. In fact, a part of me always gets mildly like this when I see someone asking me about their spiritual gifts because it's still somewhat externalized. Ask yourself, how do you simply come back to your spiritual core essence? Use a different word. It's not about doing something with it, it's about being it. And that in itself is the doing that you need to be doing in the world. Because magic happens only when it is really allowed to happen. When you try to direct and control any kind of spiritual gift in a way that is moving opposite to, whichever flow it was supposed to have been, when you try to direct it in a way that is opposite to what is actually in your highest and deepest good, you then end up with more karma. And nobody needs that. Nobody needs that at all. So stop controlling. Stop trying to look for it. Stop trying to run towards it. And allow yourself to simply be. And I know it's so difficult because all of that stuff out there, all of this psychic power, that thing, this thing, it looks so tempting. But it's just the glitz and the hype and the glamours. It's not going to get you anything at the end of the day. You are. But that part of you that is deeply, deeply connected. So let me see what comments. I'm going to take a minute and look at comments and see if there's anything that's come up. Let's see. Hello to Naomi. Okay. Uh, mm, mm, mm. All right. So far, no questions. Does anyone have any questions for now? Are we all good? Oh, here we go. Just as I was saying that. Right, Dr. B, can you speak to self-realization and balancing that spirit with the nature, air, fire, earth, water, and being present with self as a servant of nature? Okay. Now, this is something that I learned from my brother, who is a Varma healer. And Varma is basically, you know how Chinese medicine has the TCM system and they have the elemental balance. Indian medicine has a similar system. And Varma, as I understand it, is very much about healing the body by balancing those elements using points on the body without a needle. And so I've seen him do that. I learned a couple of points here and there, but I'm very, very interested in some parts of the research. But the reason why I bring this up is because, see, all of those elements of nature already naturally exist in our body. So we don't actually need, again, we don't need to externalize it. We don't need to see it as outside ourselves because it's already there. What we need to do is we need to keep a proper balance of all of the elements in what we do, what we say, what we eat, where we are. I mean, one of the things I also look into is feng shui and some elements of Vastu, but more so feng shui. And you see this constant connection between humanity and the elements in every facets of their lives. Just simply by being, simply by living in a home in a certain space, it is all relevant. As long as you're walking a path that is in alignment, you are already a vessel, a servant, an embodiment of nature. At least that's the way I would answer that question. Disrag says hi and thank you, and you're welcome. Elysian Spark asks, can you talk about breaking generational curses? Okay. Now this is something that I've had to learn. And it's not work that I specialize in. Some of you who have sessions with me know that there's some things I'm specialized in and there's some things I'm not. And I will send you to a specialist who knows what they're doing. But effectively, if you think about it, when we use the word curse, we bring up a lot of negative projections around it. Immediately there's a ghost standing there, there's bad luck, there's people dying, there's this and that. There's some curses are horrible. I've seen those running through families as well. Some would be a little bit lighter, like like a general pattern of misfortune, or sometimes even a general pattern of marrying the same person again and again and again over generations. But the key thing about this is that, one, it depends on the degree of severity. And if you're looking at something super extreme, that you need someone who's actually specialized in the area to look at the source of whatever was done and to undo that in a safe way. But that is the part that actually requires external facilitation. What we don't understand is basically curse is simply a word that refers to an extreme karmic pattern. The moment we actually choose different life paths and decisions that are not the same as our parents or their parents and so on and so forth, we are already shifting karma in a particular direction. And more often than not, generational curses, unless you come from certain bloodlines, wink wink, generational curses are not that severe. You actually change them the moment you make different choices in your life, choices that your ancestors could not make. So a lot of the time, it is literally about choosing a different path. And sometimes, in very rare cases, you would have to do it more so at an energetic level. Hello, and let's see, we see hello from Tanya and Sedona. Hello to Brandy. Quite a lot of the Dreamwise family are here. Hello to all of you again. Like I said in the beginning, do check out that interview. It was phenomenal. Just search for Sunday Service with the Sky Priestess. It was amazing. But effectively, yeah. Do we have any more questions? Oh, here we go. All right. Angela, how can I love unconditionally, but then there's people you love who follow Trump and you cannot override our own truths? There's no peace for me there. Right. Okay. Boo. Geez, that's not an easy question. All right. I think the issue comes down with the word love. This is something I remember talking about or writing about a few years ago. When we talk about loving someone, we're talking about connection, warmth, and the gooey gooey feelings. If we look at it in terms of the chakras, they're more of the lower chakras, which are absolutely important for life and community and existence. But when you're looking from love from a spiritual perspective, you need to look at the heart chakra. And the heart chakra, despite the way it's shown and depicted in popular culture, the heart chakra is actually pretty unconnected. In rather, how do I put it? What is an unconnected? Sorry, detached. The heart chakra is very connected, but it's very detached in its connection. So, in other words, that's the kind of love that you can feel when someone has done something totally wrong to you. You want them to find their own way, you're walking your own path. You might not even need to wish them well, but you're not holding on to that energy with the energy of resentment or hatred. You just go, okay, you go your own way. And that's good for you, that's good for everybody. That's also a form of love. When we try to confuse the different forms of love because it's just that one word, LOVE, we try to force ourselves to be, overly emotional or open to people with whom having a more detached relationship would actually be better. Remember, detachment is not the absence of love. It just simply means you might not necessarily need to be able to be that close to them in a more 3D sense. Let me just shut this thing off. It's giving notifications. Hang on. Here we go. Okay. I hope that answers your question. Prerna, hello. She asks, I believe it's a she, yes. Have there been time when you feel your intuition is numb, like when your intuition intuitive in general, but there are times where you feel like withdrawing to look at things better, but nothing clicks? Yes, definitely. If everyone is on all of the time, I think that'd be a lot more people who are probably sitting in a mental institution somewhere. Take those times where you feel like things are blocked to actually just do nothing and rest, because burnout is a real thing among intuitives and psychics. And it's not about being switched on all of the time. Sometimes you literally got to switch off. Okay, let's see what we have here. Um, Hello to Alexi. Hello to Armani. Hello to Jolene. And we have a comment from Disrag. I don't know about going back, but I love and care, and I raised that beautiful, innocent cat. My respect to that. In fact, that brings me to something I didn't want to tell you about. I'm trying to practice tithing as best I can this month, starting from this month because I have a little bit of extra funds, so I can afford to think about that. But have been contributing to people who are in need of food supplies. I don't have so much, but what I can, I've already been doing. People who don't have money for food, or people who need books to study, or people who basically, animal shelters and things like that. And I think it's a really important thing for all of us to also do, because talking about spirituality is well and good, but literally speaking, you can't do a damn thing if you are starving. So, for most people at the very least, some people would take that as a moment of transcendence, but that's very rare. So, as you're working on your path, if you have spare income, yes, obviously, I love the fact that a lot of you support my work, but also try to contribute some things to like animal shelters, homeless people, institutions that are providing for those whose safety nets have failed them as this lockdown is ongoing all over the world. So, that's something that I would really, really appreciate. We also see Ashwita. Another question, are these times causing more fatigue than usual? I've been sleeping a lot. Yes, they are. But remember, when your body is sleeping, it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. It just means that you're needing to process, and you're needing to process deeply. And that's totally fine. So if you're trying to resist the flow of what your body wants to do, then it's not going to feel great. But just at the end of the day, always listen to the body. It tends to know what to do. But yeah, so those are our questions for now. Like I said, this is the Hello Neighbor series. We, kind of gather together once in a while, and I just say hi to the community here. We've just had a fantastic interview yesterday with the Dreamwise family. You can look that up if you go online and search for a Sunday service with the Sky Priestess. 2 hours of absolute gems there, and a lot of you are here now, so hello, hello, hello. And let's go get back to our questions here. N Black, what do vivid mean stream? Especially ones that I can remember and that feel so real. It really depends. Sometimes it's a projection of your subconscious. Sometimes it's you astral traveling. Sometimes it's bullshit playing games with you as you're asleep. So you really can't tell unless you can, identify which of the three is relevant. And there may be other unknown factors. Here we go. Da, 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 da. Ra Lexi says, I'm so attached to flowers now. I thought it just crystal, but something is calling to all types of flowers and plants. This is understandable. There are actually many transformations that are happening within the planet right now. Some of them are going to be more violent, like earthquakes, volcanoes, and whatnot. And some of it is also a calling back to the consciousness, the original consciousness of Gaia. And we've basically put too much crap on the planet. And so this is a good time for us to actually go back to looking at the fertile, abundant, nurturing aspects of her as well, because she's that balance of all those things. Creatrix, mother nurturer, mother destroyer, all in one package. So, if you are feeling that call to connect more so with nature, if it's just having a potted plant on your table, it's really not a bad thing to do right now. Apparently, plants like music. That's a cool thing to remember. So do we have any questions? Uh, how did her brother control his spontaneous astral projection? This was from something in the interview yesterday. Honestly, I don't know. I never asked him, but I don't know. It was a long time ago. I never asked him. But yeah, I guess when that happened, because I was talking about the psychic, that word gifts, the psychic abilities that opened up for us as kids, which is a real, really difficult to handle in early childhood. It just one of us had astral projection, and the other one had, the ability to see death, and it just made childhood a lot more complicated than it needed to be. But I think over time it just sorts itself out when it starts so young, generally speaking. Nina, will you be doing an energy guidance for May? Um, mm, mm, mm. I don't know yet. You know what I'm like? I don't say anything unless it's actually worth saying. Um, I'll have to look and see. If there's something that comes up that feels very relevant, that feels like it needs to be said, I'll say it. Okay, so Soitis says, I astral project all the time spontaneously. Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Um, hmm. Now, spontaneous astral projection, especially when you're even in your waking state, it's happening, is something that it can seem cool, which I'm sure you know of, but at the same time, it can also be a bit dangerous because you're not always going to be able to control it. So, in a case like that, you would literally have to speak to, I guess, your guardians, guides, gatekeepers, call it what you want, and ask them what the frell. Because you're not supposed to be doing that all the time. So, literally, this is an access issue. Angela, question. The last 2 days, intense energy. Why? Answer. Pluto station retrograde in Capricorn. So we're beginning to see the dust slowly start to settle. And we've also saw yesterday the sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus. So that's given a big push of energy all over the planet. VB, can you suggest any mantra for those who are jobless now? I know who this is. Okay. All right, VB. Let's see. Any mantra for joblessness? Hang on, let me think about this one. I'm thinking. It depends on your belief system. For example, if you were within the Hindu belief system, especially if you're looking for things oriented towards career, you'd be looking at Shukran and Sunny. Venus and Saturn within the Hindu belief system. If you're looking at the Judeo-Christian belief system, I would honestly say talk to the Metatron. If you're looking at other belief systems, there are different answers. But if you really wanted to, you could, personally, I would say in your case, you would have to look at, first of all, what are the obstacles to being jobless? Is that actually something like a negative issue that needs to be removed, or is it simply a matter of timing? As a general rule of practice, offering prayers, and I know prayers are not possible right now because of the lockdown, but as a general practice, you would be offering prayers to Saturn where that's not possible. Given where you are, I would say feed some crows. That'd probably give you more answers than anything right now. And yeah, I'd say that's probably enough. I need to go rest again. This work takes a lot of energy. Remember to go and listen to the interview. Wonderful, wonderful energy with lots of wonderful people. 2 hours long though, so you need to take breaks because you get a lot of downloads from it. For those of you who want in-depth astrological guidance, remember to join me at the Tier 23 program. That's where it's happening. And otherwise, I will see you again when I feel called to say hello, say hi, and stay safe. So take care, very many blessings. Feed some stray animals, help some people if you can, and just keep going, keep going, keep going. The universe is unfolding whether or not we want it to. Take care, very many blessings. Ciao, ciao for now. Bye bye.